Hey, hello everyone. So, have you ever imagined how AWS can give you a server within 3 seconds as soon as you place an order? Didn't they go to the market and purchase the RAM, CPU, and all those things, then build and then give the server to you? I guess you have imagined the same thing. Also, have you ever think when your traffic increases in your server or in your dream project, how you just go to AWS and increase the RAM, storage or CPU cores to match or to cater your traffics? If you have think all those things but you don't know the answer, then stick to it. I will be explaining how hardware virtualization works, how hypervisors are came into the picture, and how AWS or its kind of a market competitors like Azure, Google Cloud, and all those cloud providers can provide you a server in just couple of dollars. So let's start this video. Let's start learning about the hypervisor and hardware virtualization. So, first of all, as I told you in the beginning, how AWS Azure works. So, after watching the entire video, you know A to Z how AWS and Azure works, how hypervisors are came into the picture, why it is important for industrial applications, and the different type of hypervisor. So as we start from the beginning, and this is a beginner friendly guide, so let's start from the bare bone. Let me explain you how operating system work. So this is not the A to Z way how it is entirely work, because there are many surprises in under the hood, but I will be explaining in an easy manner. So first of all, we go into the market and we purchase some hardwares. So what kind of a hardware it is? So we go into the market, we choose like Intel, or we choose the AMD CPUs, we choose a RAM, let's say 8 GB or 16 GB RAM, we choose a storage, maybe it is a NVMe SSD or SSD, but we mainly focus on the capacity of the storage. Let's say I choose 5 TB of storage. And also for networking, let's say we have multiple things in the networking side, but let's go to in a very easy way. Let's say we purchase an router, and this router is basically connecting your local PC to the internet, and that way you can use internet in your PC, or you can watching this video using the same manner. So this is the networking part. Now this is the hardware layer of any computer or anything that you can imagine. Now on top of that, we have our OS layer. What is OS? It is an operating system, and this actually creates a bridge from the user inputs and to the hardware. So basically it sits on top of the hardware. And in normal computers, what happened is that we dedicate one operating system to the entire hardware, but it may be useful for you, for a single user, but that is not a ideal scenario for a data center or for the big giants like Azure or AWS. And on top of this, one single layer of what you can say one single layer of this operating system, you install your application, maybe your node application, maybe your MongoDB server, maybe your SQLite MongoDB database, maybe your SQL database, all those things, and they start working together. Everything is good until you are building your dream project in your local system. But in when you want to move a step ahead, when you want your application, the dream application that you put all your efforts, will be used by thousands of people outside in your computer, how they use that. At the same point of time, you required a server, and the same time you went to this cloud provider like Azure and AWS and order a server. But how they manage to give you the server within 3 seconds, that's the question. The answer is they basically use hardware virtualization. So what is hardware virtualization? Hardware virtualization is basically a way in which multiple hardwares are connecting together like a cluster. Let's say you have 10 CPUs, you connect all those things through a host, and that become a giant CPU of having, let's say, 32 cores, 128 GB of RAM, hundreds of TB storage, and all those things. And when a customer came to AWS, they just what you can say, chalk out a single part according to your need and give that to you. That way they can provide the hardware you want in couple of seconds. The same thing is explained here in a small example. So let's say I have a hardware with 4 CPU cores, 8 GB of RAM, 500 GB of storage, and some decent networking. Now if you came to me and asked me to give a server to you, what I will do, I will chops this CPU and RAM and everything and give it to you according to your need. Let's say I create multiple virtual systems for you. Let's say this is one, the first one you are using for a API, to deploy your API, second one to deploy your dashboard application, let's say third one is your database server and all those things. And you need to manage all those hardware. Specifically, let's say you just need 1 GB of RAM for the virtual server 1 and 1 CPU core. I can just cut the things for you, like cutting a cake, and give it to you. That way you have your what you can say, required computer easily and quickly. Now there's another thing came into the picture, that is how, let's say your traffic increases. At that point of time, how you can increase your hardware resources without stopping your server. That is also possible through virtualization of hardware. I can just assign another CPU core to you, or maybe more than 2 GB of storage, RAM, to this virtual server 1 instantly without rebooting the server, and that is only possible using hardware virtualization. And to do all those things you need something, right? You have to manage these all things through a software, and that point of time hypervisor came into the picture. So hypervisor is actually allowing you to manage this kind of infrastructure, to create different virtual machines and all those things. So there are, so you know why it is required, the virtual machines and all those things. You know how AWS actually cater you with the server you required and all those things. Now let's jump into the types of hypervisor. So hypervisor is specifically divided into two types, and that is very easy to remember because the name is type 1 and type 2, as simple as that. Now we will be beginning with type 2 hypervisor because that is more commonly used by individual in their day-to-day life. What is that? I guess you all heard about the name of VirtualBox or VM workstation, and how they work. The type 2 what you can say, hypervisor work. This is a graphical pictorial representation that I have prepared for you. So the same hardware layer is there. Okay, there is no change in the hardware layer because hardware is same. On top of that, you install an operating system, let's say Windows or Mac or Linux, and on top of this you install another software called type 2 hypervisor, maybe VirtualBox and all those things. And inside that hypervisor or type 2 hypervisor, you create your different VMs like VM1, VM2, how I explain in this picture. But why it is type 2? This is a type 2 because it has an intermediate layer of operating system between your hardware and the hypervisor. Is that wrong? Actually, if you check, yes, it is not wrong, it is waste of the compute power, because your operating system also runs some processes that actually limits the full potential of your hardware level. And on top of this host operating system, there are other applications maybe also running, so that those applications also uses some of the hardware capabilities. So this is the reason why in industrial applications this type 2 hypervisors are not used. You can use it in your local machine, that is totally fine, but it is not used by the enterprises. So what enterprises use? So that brings us the type 1 hypervisor. Now if you can see this image, you can clearly distinguish that we don't have any OS layer. There is no OS layer in between the hardware and hypervisor. It is a Linux based software with that is on top of the hardware itself it is running. So there is no waste of any computer resources or something like that. And on top of this hypervisor, similarly like type 2 hypervisor, you create your machines, and the benefit is this actually don't waste any compute resources, as well as this helps you to create clusters. Now what is clusters? So clusters is basically multiple what you can say computers connected together with some through some host, and that is only possible if you have an type 1 hypervisor. Now the very famous type 1 hypervisors are that is used in the market is basically VMware ESX1 or Hyper-V from Microsoft. That is the two major what you can say hypervisor that is ruling the tech world. But we will be seeing in the next video how we can set up your own hypervisor, not with these two because those are paid hypervisors. We will be using Proxmox. So Proxmox is basically semi open source platform where they provide you the hypervisor for free, and you can use most of the feature of this hypervisor like clustering or taking the backups, taking the snapshot, everything for free. On top of that, they can also provide you the support if you are facing any issue. So in the next video, the hardware that I have already purchased to make a server, my own server, so I will be installing the Proxmox hypervisor on top of this and show you how this hypervisor work in a real world scenario. So I think all the concept of this hypervisor hardware virtualization is clear to you, and in the next video we will be seeing the hands-on exercise of this hypervisor. So thank you for watching this video. If you are still watching this video, I guess you enjoyed it, you learned something, and if you learned something, please leave your valuable comments in the comment section below. Thank you.